It's 21 degrees centigrade here in Abuja. Humidity today is about 30% at the moment. What a lovely scene here this morning. So look at the mad rush. No, that's not a mad rush. It's some sort of rush. Not the kind of mad rush some people know. But all the same, yes, you can see that, well, yes, indeed, the hustle and bustle. Also, you can see the signature, but lovely scenes. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise. It is this Monday morning. I'm Chamberlain. So.
Well, for the residents of Abuja, this certainly is a mad rush. We're used to lighter traffic, but one of the things that would immediately strike out in this picture is the dryness of the greenery, which is missing here. But it comes back in the rainy season, and we'll look forward to it. Good morning and welcome. We hope you're looking forward to the show this morning. I'm Maupe Oguyusuf.
And here in Lagos, what do we have? Let us bring it to you. Yes, that is the Falomore terminal, the 5 Cowrie terminal, the bus where people go from Lagos, the Lagos Island, Falomore to Ikorodu. That is what you have right there. Beautiful scenery, wouldn't you say? It'd be nice to have a place somewhere around there. This is Lagos. You're welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
I thought that was a downfall driver right there, but it's not. Okay, so I think Lagos have to do a lot in terms of if they could only leverage on that, ensure that the rules, people stick with that, it will be lovely, I tell you. So, yes, indeed, what a lovely Monday morning it is here today. So, well, here in our studios in Abuja, look who we've got this morning who will be joining us today, and never know. Kayla Megwa joins us here. She's going to be anchoring with us this morning. Good morning, Kayla.
Good morning, Chamberlain. Good morning, Mark. So good to be here.
Good morning and welcome. And I know that you're coming with a world of experience, having, traversed many parts, even right here at Channels Television, not counting other experiences. State House correspondent, how was the villa?
Oh dear.
How many years ago now?
It feels like eons ago because, I've been a defense correspondent after that, still covering the foreign desk after that. So yes, the villa at the time, it was fine. It was just fine. It came at the time when there was COVID. So we were sequestered for the most part of my time in the villa.
Well, now we're out of it, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We are.
Okay. It's going to be an interesting one, I tell you. So let's go through the dailies, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what the headlines are saying at the moment. But take a look at Vanguard newspaper in just a minute. So the front page of Vanguard here says, uncertainty rules currency markets as external reserves rise. Volume of dollars traded down 3% to $2.14 billion, while sudden massive crash of Naira. This is ascribed to analysts. And then you see warn of further depreciation, adverse impact on economy. So that is the big one on the front page of Vanguard newspaper this morning.
Well, I'm taking a look at the Abuja Inquirer now, and the lead story right there, kidnapping. Our efforts will yield results soon. That's according to the Minister of the FCT. Abuja clamped down on cars with no number plates. Visit families of other victims, Mansur tells Minister. So that is the lead story on the front page of the Abuja Inquirer.
Moving on now to the Daily Trust newspaper, lead headline there, teenager killed as customs officials chase smugglers. And we're seeing at the bottom of that front page, the CBN investigators passed stalks Tinubu's assignment, allegations irrelevant to Obaze's new role, says the presidency, and crime busters should have impeccable character, says CFTIW. and that is from the Daily Trust newspaper.
The big story on the front page of the Nigerian Observer. By the way, Kayla, it's good to see you. You are most welcome to the team. Nigerian Observer leads with this very interesting one. Disco's revenue surges to 771 billion naira in Q3 2023. And I love the rider that goes with it on the front page of the Nigerian Observer. Amid irregular power supply. Yeah, that's the lead story on the front page of the Nigerian Observer. Disco's revenue surges to 771 billion naira in Q23 amid irregular power supply. That's the lead of the Nigerian Observer today.
Well, business, they talk business, of course. Forex crisis reignites questions over NNPC's dollar remittance. I'm not sure if this is going to go away because you just may see lots of questions coming through about this one time and again.
And taking a look at the front page of The Guardian, they're suddenly talking business and the economy. Duty increase, spot FX rate, adoption, throw market into panic. It's a page 6 read for you. They have some infographic right there on the front page showing you what the FX rate has been over the years, starting from May 29, 2023, especially on the official window. We'll be taking a closer look at some of the other headlines you see right there, but that is the lead headline on the front page of the Guardian newspapers.
From the New Telegraph newspaper, Niger's exit from ECOWAS will affect regional fight against terrorism. And that's from a retired General Moore from pages 2, 9, 10, and 11. And from the bottom of that page, from the New Telegraph, Nigeria's doctor-patient ratio worsening as 900 medics migrate yearly, says Minister. More on that on page 3 of the New Telegraph.
The lead story of the Daily Independent newspaper is a little concerning as far as subsidy removal is concerned. No FDIs months after subsidy removal and FX liberalization. Find out the details on the inside. It continues on the inside pages. Nigerians' weak purchasing power can't attract FDIs. That's according to analysts. So what's gonna... Okay, let's leave it there for now.
Is about economic challenges. Presidency, Atiku in war of words. And then you can see the writer, Tinubu's response uninformed, arbitrary, chaotic, ascribed to Atiku. That's a Tribune. Atiku doing a poor job. Others, or beg your pardon, offers no alternative to president's policies. This is ascribed to presidency on the front page of Tribune here this morning.
Taking a look at Nigerian News Direct. Atiku accuses Tinubu of worsening economy, increasing pain of poor Nigerians. That's the front page of the Nigerian News Direct this morning. They have a number of writers to that story. Presidency dismisses Atiku's criticisms as unfounded, hypocritical. Federal government challenges former VP to provide constructive alternatives. So that's the front page of the Nigerian News Direct this morning.
And from the Leadership newspaper, one that really touches every single one of us in the country, Nigerians struggle with fake food and fake products. More on that from page 4. In fact, a lot to read from this particular story. How much has been lost? 200 billion, they say. Substandard drugs, 500,000 individuals in sub-Saharan Africa affected by this one. And of course, a lot on this fake food and fake products situation. I don't know if that's something that you've had to worry about.
In recent times.
In recent times, you know, you always have to make sure that you're getting the right things. And it's a credit to a lot that has been going on, especially on social media. The fact that people are able to expose fake products. And then as Nigerians now, we're more conscious of what we buy and where we buy them. So more on that, page 4 of the Leadership newspaper.
All right, so just some of the things that stick out this morning. It's particularly this one.
Yeah, certainly.
You know, it's not that the Food Control Agency don't have capable people who can do the job. but it does come across as though they are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that the agency, as constituted, cannot achieve the kind of results that will address these kinds of challenges. Because for the most part, when you look through almost on a regular basis, the food control aspect seems to be at its lowest ebb. So yes, lots of focus on trying to ensure that fake drugs, they get a hang of what's happening. Then add to that, getting a proper distribution chain for those medications, usually a huge challenge. I know they've talked about how they need to work with the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria to ensure that people don't just get prescription drugs over the counter and ensure that you have proper regulatory bodies doing the right things. But as it stands, if you get out there, ask a lot of those people who are dispensing, first you see them hawking them on the streets, you see pharmacists complaining as to, look, the system needs to be put in place. I think the government needs to properly sit down and have a look at what Navdaco has been able to achieve, where the challenges are, and then we'll ask ourselves that question. Can we continue doing things this same way? What kind of results do we expect? Because, frankly speaking, look, things are moving real quick and fast. But now we're talking about the GMO foods. If they are regulated, who knows what? Are they labeled? Who sees that? So,
well, I know the Director General of Navdaco has not, hidden their challenges. She's spoken up very loudly about it. The fact that they did not have enough personnel. They are severely short-staffed in the area of monitoring what exactly should be happening in the production and even monitoring fake products. The FCCPC was also stepping in and trying to fill in that gap. But we don't know. We haven't quite heard from the new DG of the FCCPC, since we understand that Mr. Erukera was removed because they were trying to step up. Okay, so we are hoping that the new DG will also step up to the challenge, because it cannot be a double whammy for Nigerians. On the one hand, money is not enough, inflation is skyrocketing, and then you use your money, your hard-earned money that is already expensive, to buy expensive goods that are fake. I mean, that's just too much to bear. So I'm hoping that the authorities is on the front page of leadership this morning. Papers do not joke with their front pages about what they put there. So it is certainly very important that the authorities concerned, even the Standards Organization of Nigeria, needs to be checking to be sure. Building materials are very expensive now, to make sure that people are also getting value for money, whatever money it is, whatever value is left now.
I mean, it's good that you brought up the idea of collaboration, because the Standards Organization of Nigeria has to join this particular endeavor. And we also have to go deeper and get the National Orientation Agency to get Nigerians to understand that this is not acceptable behavior. These are not things that can grow your country. I think the concept of nationhood is one that really needs to be ingrained in the Nigerian. That way you would think before you would do something like this. I remember back in the day, around the 80s, there's a generation of people with hearing problems, because at the time there were fake drugs that were being peddled. So we can't have these things keep happening. Whatever handshake needs to be made across these agencies has to be done immediately, because this fake foods and fake products business, it's a real problem, and it's all over the country. I really hope that they do something about it real soon.
Ayo.
Well, my take this morning on that one is, so enough said, as we say on the streets. So let's just hope that we can at least put a lead on it. One thing for me is, how did they even get into the country in the first place? And we're not just talking about fake foods, we're talking about fake products as well. Do people even know that tires expire? The tires of your vehicle. Anyway, my lead take this morning, guys, is on the front page of the Nigerian Observer, where it talks about Disco's revenue surging amid irregular power supply. I think it is something that we should give ourselves a little more attention. We should give a little more attention to that fact. So, exactly what is happening right here. Revenue surging. There are people who are already complaining about speculated costs, or whatever the word we use. Those who are not using prepaid meters. Those who are being charged at the whim of anyone. it's a thing of concern that I want to believe needs to be given attention to. Amid irregular power supply, because over the weekend, I think was it last night, it was also reported that there was a power grid collapse, the first of its kind in the year 2024. We need some information about that. We know no stories. The president has said, we don't want pitying. We're not pitying you, and we're going to continue to ask the questions, because without electricity, there can be no sustainable development, no sustainable economic development at all. Okay? That's just something for us. That's my take on the front page of the Nigerian Observer today.
And so that wraps it up then. We'll look at some of the dailies here this morning. But hang on, we're back in just a moment, and we're going to be focusing on the developments in Edo State ahead of the forthcoming governorship elections. Don't go away. Can't say public secretary, bro. Welcome back. Well, yes, indeed. Let's cross over to Edo State. Well, Mr. Aslam Ujezwa joins us this morning. He's a governorship aspirant for the forthcoming elections for Edo State's PDP. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Okay,
it's nice
so
to be back here. Good morning, Chamberlain.
Okay,
it's nice
so
to be back here. Good morning, Chamberlain.
Okay,
it's nice
so
to be back here. Good morning, Chamberlain.
Okay, so okay, just to try and sort that out. All right, apologies for that loop. So the thing is, Mr. Jesua, we've seen the petition that the aspirants have written protesting, addressed to the acting chairman of the PDP. You're saying that a lot didn't go right with the election, the Congress, even though there are counterclaims out there. But let's hear from you directly now. What is the crux of this matter?
Well, the crux of the matter is the desperation that has been, exhibited both by the governor of Edo State, Governor Obaseki, and the national organizing secretary of the party, Alhaji Umar Bature. There seems to be a connivance between both of them to compromise the whole process. This whole thing started from about the 29th of January. We noticed Bature published a list of venues for the World Congresses. That list ran contrary to all known tenets of PDP Congresses in Edo State from, 1999 to date. And we raised eyebrows. We followed up with a letter to the acting national chairman, and they assured us that they were going to make the changes, that, the publication was just to see what our response will be so that they can correct it. And, the first question that came to my mind was, who paid for that publication. It turned out that it was Obaseki that provided the funds for that publication. Secondly, they still went ahead to publish the same list. And we had to protest to a point where the National Working Committee took a look at it and eventually resolved that all the venues must be INEC collation centers across the state in all the wards. So at that point, we were put on notice that this process was to be compromised. And we decided to be very vigilant. The next item was that we had a meeting with the national chairman in the midst of some of his colleagues, including the national secretary and the national organizing secretary. They were present at the meeting, where we had agreed that all those who would officiate in these congresses must be people outside of Edo State. But what did we find? We found that the list that was published of ward electoral officers and monitoring officers was replete with government officials, special advisors, senior special assistants, advisors to the local government. What the hell? Even the Speaker of Edo State House of Assembly was said to go and supervise this process in his own local government. Of course, we wrote at the material time, Governor Seyi Makinde was appointed as chairman of the committee that will come to Edo State to conduct the exercise. He had not even come to Edo when we wrote a letter to him, drawing attention to in fact, there were 3 lists at the point. We didn't now know which was which, and we had to let him know that these lists were, adulterated, and therefore that the process itself was compromised even before they started. What is even worse, in 3 days between Friday and Sunday, the National Organizing Secretary had published 3 different committees that will come and officiate in Edo. The first list, which had Governor Seyi Makinde as chairman, had Senator Manu as secretary. The following day, another list came out. Governor Seyi Makinde as chairman, Pascal Adigwe as secretary. And then later on, after we had written to him, we also wrote to the chairman. And we let him know some, defects in the entire process, and right from the beginning,
Okay, so Mr. Jesua, what you're saying is, correct as if it's wrong, is that because, we've seen images, footages saying all went well with this process. But are you saying that the process didn't hold, or that whatever they say held didn't go as stipulated by the rules of the party?
You can say all of that. But what it is that there are certain prerequisites that should occur even before the process starts. The first thing is for the committee to come to Edo State, led by a chairman. In this case, Governor Mba. When he comes into town, as it is customary, he will meet with the stakeholders, especially the aspirants who are contesting these primaries. Then he will show us, because of transparency, he will show us the materials. What has he brought? Particularly the result sheets. We will send our agents with his own officers to the street, to the field. Did all this take place? The answer is no. Governor Mba came in yesterday about 12 o'clock. Before 5 o'clock, he had finished his assignment to come and conduct congresses in 192 wards in Edo State. Is it possible? Has any committee ever been able to, conduct that exercise in less than 2 days? You can see from the timetable that was brought, these congresses were supposed to have taken 2 days. That is as, serious as it is. But Governor Mba just came. He met an ongoing process. He didn't send anybody out into the wards. So how come? So he just came to come and sign a fait accompli. What kind of people are these? So, the whole thing is replete, like I said. is drowned in illegality. There is nothing any civilized person can describe it with. And, you know, I heard the governor gloating that the process was, I just laughed. I just laughed. I said, this man, he was a victim, and he has not learned from his personal experience.
So what do we then
those
make?
of us who say it then, we save Edo again.
Mr. Jesua, sorry to interrupt you, but then what do we then make of the visuals that we see coming out from Edo State? People who came out to, you know, to come and vote at the congresses. Well, what do we make of that particular exercise? Do we dismiss it in totality?
It was nothing but a charade. Nothing but a charade. I told you, it appears you are not listening to me. When INEC is conducting elections, the first thing they do is to bring the materials. They call them sensitive materials. When those sensitive materials come, all the parties involved in the case is displayed to them. And at that point, they have the opportunity to escort those materials. Did we have this opportunity? The answer is no. Can you imagine that the committee that was set up to conduct this election, as I speak to you, I don't know the height of Barrister Peter Umba. I have never met him in person. I still haven't met him in person. He has come to say that he conducted an exercise in Edo State. I am an aspirant, and I still do not know him. What does that tell you?
I mean, there are certainly many questions
Barrister
to
Peter
ask.
Umba cannot tell you.
Yes.
Excuse me. Barrister Peter Umba cannot tell you that he sent out those officials to the field. All those officials should have been sent to the field. The materials preceded him. How can it be that the man who is supposed to bring the materials is now a monitoring officer? He didn't conduct that exercise.
Was
he
it the
only
only
came to
governor
monitor
that was expected?
to sign off on
Excuse
it.
me. Was it the only governor that was expected to arrive? Because we also understand that the governor of Taraba State was also in Edo State.
We didn't see any of them. We even addressed the press yesterday. We didn't see any of them.
So do you, in the constituencies, one more question, sir. In the constituencies where this voting exercises, you've called it a charade, where the exercises took place, amongst the PDP members in those constituencies, do your people recognize any of those people on the queues?
You see, I told you, we were completely excluded, and that is a ground for objection. It is not possible that you will conduct an exercise for a group of people and the people are not part of that process. Then that exercise was not for them. What they conducted yesterday was Obaseki's Congress, not the PDP Congress. That process either was sold to him by people in the National Working Committee. In fact, I am aware that there are a lot of members of the National Working Committee who are actually shocked with what has happened in Edo. And we're going to take it up. The sad part of it is that the illegality, their desperation, the illegalities that they have fraught the process with, PDP, if care is not taken, may not even have a candidate in this election.
Mr. Jesua, 9 of you, had written a letter to the acting chairman of your party and copied the national vice chairman south of the party, protesting the process and the composition of those who conduct that election. Have you heard back from the national chairman of your party?
No, not yet. Not yet. As a matter of fact, we saw a letter written by Bature, even though it was not addressed to us, but it was flying on the internet, that in fact, I think Governor Sheyi Makinde, in declining his appointment to act as chairman, drew attention to fundamental issues we raised in our letter to him. And Bature's response was that we should take our case to the appeal committee to appeal a process that has not even commenced, which means Bature knew what the result would be.
Does it worry
sitting
you,
in his office in
Mr.
Abuja.
Jesua, that the process was allowed to continue even though you had written a petition to the national chairman of the party? Isn't that something that should maybe raise eyebrows among the 9 of you?
Of course. And it raised the eyebrows, and we made our position known yesterday.
It could be that the party, the national, the national chairman of your party, or, the national area of your party is in support of the process. What do you think? Because if they weren't, wouldn't they have stopped it?
Yes, in law, there's something they call res ipsa loquitur. I will tell you that if anything abnormal happens, or if a set of people begin to behave abnormally, of course, the result will be abnormal. People would naturally raise eyebrows with the kind of rubbish that took place in Edo. You see, in the recklessness that accompanied this process, they did some fundamental things that we are going to take up. And they will have to take responsibility for what will happen to PDP in Edo if this matter is not addressed.
What
they are trying to avoid
Mr.
it.
Jesua?
You can never solve a problem by avoiding it. Yes, please.
You said some reckless things were done. What reckless things?
Oh, for instance, look at it. The materials were sent to Godwin Obaseki. He has vested interest. He's not a member of the committee. How come the materials were sent to him? How come he was the one who sent people out to conduct this exercise? How come Governor Peter Mba just came to Edo to come and sign off on what Obaseki has done? And you believe that people will accept it?
I want to be able to tell you what I want to be able to let you listen to what Governor Obaseki said. You cannot have 100% participation. You see the crowd here, when we were in APC before we joined the PDP, we didn't have these numbers. So it is clear that the people we met in the party are still in the party. The crisis is hyped. It is not as fundamental as it is made to look. There is very little crisis. The crisis is fanned from the outside, and our people are smarter than that. You will see during the main election, we are not going to allow ourselves to be sold. Those are the words of Governor Obaseki. What do you make of his assertion there?
I'm sorry to say, Governor Obaseki is living in dreamland. He should wake up. There is something patently wrong with what he is doing. He needs to reflect. He needs to look at his own experience. He needs to reflect. In fact, let me draw your attention. A friend of his, who also described himself as his brother, described him as lacking empathy and compassion. He went further to say that Obaseki has leprous hands. I think that is something that anybody should reflect. Any right-thinking person should reflect. From wait and see to leprous hand. I think he should do some introspection.
Well, Mr. Jesua, one of the questions that comes to me naturally is to find out from you, in what way does this process that the 9 contestants on the platform of the PDP are complaining about breach the law, any law at that? In what way has this process breached the law? Can you hear me, Mr. Jesua? Go ahead.
I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Good. I told you, before the commencement of the exercise, every committee that is sent to conduct an exercise in a state will come into town and have a meeting with the stakeholders. It is in that meeting that he will establish the rules that he will follow in conducting the exercise. The next item is that he will, for the reasons of transparency, he will expose all the sensitive materials to all the parties involved that they can see, from the ballots to the result sheets. This was not done. That is a fundamental flaw. The process was compromised. The chairman of the committee that was sent to Edo, His Excellency Peter Mba, cannot swear that he brought the materials to Edo State. Those materials were already in circulation before he arrived. Can we put the cart before the horse? The answer is no.
Well, I'm not sure if that really does answer my question. I'm just asking if there is a law that has been breached, not regulations now or rules, but law. Is there any law that has been breached?
When the time comes, you will see.
Okay.
We are taking steps.
All right. Well, perhaps that's actually the next question that I want to ask when you say you're taking steps. So should this process continue and the national body upholds the current, the status quo as is right now, what are the options for you and for your team?
Nothing is out of the table. Nothing is out of the table, I can assure you. We will take every reasonable step. And if you listen to me earlier, I said so, that PDP is toying with a very delicate situation. And if it is not properly handled, PDP will not have a candidate in Edo State. You can take that from me.
Are you considering the possibility of teaming up with another political party?
Why would I want to leave the party? Because of a few elements? No. We will deal with them here within the PDP.
Well, we've had a situation where, some politicians didn't have their way in their political party, so they partnered with another candidate on another political platform just to make sure that the party is frustrated, having not had their way. So that's the question that I'm asking. I'm not asking whether you wanted to leave your party, but I'm asking whether you would want to team up with another political party just to ensure that this fraught process doesn't hold water at the end of the day.
Well, you see, this is a process that is ongoing. I don't want to preempt anything. It's an ongoing process.
What are you asking the national body to do right now?
We are asking the national body to come and conduct congresses in Edo State so that we can have primaries. The entire process needs to be transparent. It needs to be free. It needs to be fair. It has already been, compromised by Governor Obaseki, which is blatant display of, shall we say, despotism. But we can contain him. That is not a problem. We will contain him. If he was confident that he could put his pet in office, he would have allowed the process to take its course. Compromising the process, for me, is already a display. It's an act of cowardice. And it also tells me that Obaseki is afraid that he will lose. And he will lose, I can assure you.
Now, what admonition are you giving to the political class in Edo State, particularly concerning this matter? Because at the end of the day, it's about the interest of the people of Edo State.
Exactly. You have said it all. Edo people deserve a lot better. And I made the point that Godwin Obaseki was at a time a victim. Edo State rallied around him. He didn't deserve it, but they gave to him. For him to come and do this in the same state and expect a different result, that's why I said it's in dreamland. He should wake up. Edo people will take him out, him and whoever it is he has brought.
Mr. Obaseki was trying to put in a pet?
Yes, obviously. You are not aware? I'm surprised.
Excuse me, I think that we should take a... It's a human being.
I am a lawyer of over 40 years. I know what I am saying, and I say what I know.
Just to draw your attention.
I speak
just to draw your attention to it, Mr. Jeswa. I'd like to quickly, as we wind down, I'd like to quickly ask you about the Edo State Ward Executive Committees, whose tenures were extended for about a month. Now, for some people, they said that brought confidence that these processes which you now contest were going to go smoothly. It doesn't appear that has happened. It hasn't had the desired effect, has it?
The process was hijacked. That's the simple reason. Somebody in the National Working Committee sold. The process was hijacked.
Do you see a remedy for this from the NWC? Do you see a remedy coming from the NWC?
Of course, I'm confident that if the NWC really is interested in the interest of the party, they will immediately reverse all those that these guys say they have done, and then they will come and conduct a proper Congress.
The 9 of you...
If the process is free, if the process is transparent, if the people are directly involved, why would we bother?
So
it is the process that generates confidence.
9 aspirants have written a letter of objection. They've done a press conference. They are dissatisfied with what it is that has happened on the ground in Edo State over the weekend. I'm just wondering how you intend to, well, I don't know if proceed is the word. I think my colleague already asked you that particular question. But 9 of you have already objected to how this has gone down. And one person seems pretty satisfied. The governor has also said this process is okay. This is that 100% participation is not possible. I don't know how you're going to go from here, because I'm wondering whether the ward executives are also complaining. Are they complaining as well?
Have you noticed that the governor has not directly answered the issues we raised? He's talking about 100% participation not possible. He has not spoken about the process. How did he come into possession of the materials that were deployed?
You're not answering my question either, sir. The question I'm asking you directly about the ward executives, are they complaining as well?
Oh, I believe they should, but we are the ones who are involved in this. We are the ones.
All right, Mr. Jesu, I mean, several people have said the images that we've just shown was the process that complied with the processes. In fact, they also did say that Mr. Daniel Omere, several people of Legacy Group, and all others participated in that World Congress, which showed that they subscribed to the process. But that if 9 of you are raising issues which you have a right to, that they think that at the end of the day, the party will uphold the process that held.
You see, the point is that sometimes when people, sometimes you have a problem discerning between Nollywood and the reality. What they showed you was drama that they had, prepared, and they took Peter Mba to the place to say, see people, I can tell you, if you live in dreamland, you will wake up one day. If you don't wake up for primaries, you will wake up on election day. This is a governor who could not even get 25% of the votes just in February last year. You would have expected that by now he would have learned a lesson. But Obaseki, I'm sorry to say, is from his behavior now. He's even more reckless than he was at that time. And the result will be worse this time, unless PDP decides to do the right thing, and then we can save this party. PDP is a good party in Edo State. They have a good chance. But if they waste it, then it will be a suicidal mission for them.
All right, Mr. Anselm Ojezua.
We will do all that we can to rescue the situation.
All right.
But let's see how it goes.
All right. We do thank you very much indeed for your time here this morning, and we hope that they respond and sort all of this matter for at least your group who say you have an issue with this. Thank you for your time here this morning.
Thank you so much, Chamberlain. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. We're back in a moment. Stay on with us.
The journey to success is not always smooth. There are rough patches on the path to accomplishment. The struggle continues until solution appears that launches you to the world of your dreams, protecting, securing, and ensuring that you reach your goals. At International Energy Insurance, we know that the journey to actualizing your dreams could be tough, but we are always there to support you and help you prepare for the unexpected. International Energy Insurance is a Navdaco company now positioned to serve you better. International Energy Insurance PLC. Energy to care.
So, there is a small problem. Despite all the entertaining ads we've created for you, some of you still haven't tried our services. Come on. First of all, we are a licensed microfinance bank. Sorry about that. For instance, you can open a business account with us and get our POS with it. It's good for your business.
99.99% reliable.
I love it. Our card, it dey work.
My money no dey hang.
You can open a business or personal account with us in minutes. Our customer care is available. Abby? So, when it comes to reliability, security, convenience, and speed, you only need one bank.
Join millions of happy customers. Download the MoneyPoint app or find an agent near you to get started.
This ad is a MoneyPoint ad. Don't forget that.
The Niger Customs Service invites you to an exclusive event. The e-auction portal is now open, offering you the chance to secure incredible items. Here's how to join the excitement. Ensure you have a valid tax identification number TIN from FIRS and a validated TIN on Tax Pro Max. Sign up at auction.nigeriatradehub.gov.ng. You are to pay a non-refundable administrative fee of 1,000 Naira through the platform secure channel, which gives you an opportunity to bid up for up to 2 items per window with unlimited bids. Auction runs every Tuesday from 12 noon to 6 p.m. Winners are to make payments within 3 days and collect within 7 days. For further inquiries, please visit our verified official communication channels currently showing on your screen. Act now. Seize the opportunity within the timelines and guidelines. Your chance for incredible deals awaits. This message is brought to you by the Niger Customs Service.
turn our attention to Benue. Mr. Dalo Nonje joins us here. He was the senatorial candidate for Benue South in 2023. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Well, thank you for having me.
It appears as though the scenario in Benue politics is not about to end anytime soon. At the moment, two people are laying claim to the state chairmanship seat. And we know there's been several court events, fireworks in the courts, and now different groups feuding. What's going on? Why is this intractable?
Well, it's important to know the background to this. The whole situation is arising from the petition that I filed against the state chairman to the National Working Committee of the All Progressive Congress, APC, through the national chairman, Ganduje. I copied his council word, the council word of the chairman. So the Ehaje Ward 1 council word of Ogbadibo local government, which is very, very familiar with the issues that I raised, took up the matters on their own and established a prima facie case of anti-party activities against the suspended chairman, and they suspended him. So as it is right now, after his suspension, I think the national secretary of the party was misled into setting aside the suspension of the chairman. Their action ultravised because they lacked the powers which they arrogated to themselves to set the suspension aside. If it was that easy, it would have happened in the case of Oshomole. When he was suspended from his ward, he was still a sitting national chairman. He would have used the instrumentality of the party to set his suspension aside. But because he's a true and genuine Democrat, he knew the implication of subverting the constitution of the party. So he approached the court. So in this case, when the National Secretariat took this decision to set the suspension aside, a party member, a bona fide party member, approached the court to say, no, it's wrong. Only the ward that has the power to register a member has the power to suspend a member. And they've done that in good faith, because the prima facie case has been established against him. As such, he should stop parading himself as the chairman of the party. And the court granted that injunction. So as it is right now, he's suspended. And as nature abhors vacuum, once the chairman is not there by any circumstance, if it's a total remover, the Constitution stipulates that somebody from his own zone and local government, the local government sit down, organize a Congress, and bring somebody to replace him. But in this case, he's not expelled from the party, and his case has not been finally determined. He's only on suspension. So as such, what the party is enjoined to do is to get a replacement from within the ranks of the State Working Committee, the highest person. And the person who comes from the Benue South Senatorial District that is in the State Working Committee is a person of Omakolu. He's the welfare secretary of the party. And the elders of Benue South, which includes former Senate President Senator Ame Ebute, Engineer Morgan Okoche from the Igede Nation, Chief Johnson Agada, General Lawrence Onoja, they came together, to take the decision to endorse the Omakolu. And I believe the name also will be sent or forwarded to the National Working Committee so that they can ratify that. There's no much crisis as such, but for the misinformation, or the mislead of the National Secretariat to have taken a decision.
We saw policemen going to scatter some people who said they were having a properly convened meeting, and then they disperse them, and they say we are the rightful people. So if that's not crisis, then what is it?
All right. That again is another misinformation that went out to the public. What actually happened? The ward executives who sat to suspend the chairman were being harassed and molested in their villages. So some of them, because there was a counter statement from the suspended chairman and his group that, it wasn't all the executives who assembled to suspend him. And also he raised another issue that the chairman of his council ward had been appointed as a caretaker supervisory councillor. As such, he has lost his position. Whereas the constitution of the party stipulates that except for a caretaker position, nobody is allowed to hold an executive position or any parliamentary position and then maintain his seat as a party executive. So now, because it's in a caretaker committee, he can hold position in the party and also maintain a caretaker position. So that his argument, he has been debased of that his argument. So there is no question, the legitimacy of those who suspended him is no longer in contention. That was his only defense, and that has been cleared. So, but what happened? The vehicle that was conveying the real executives from the world to come to Makurdi and show themselves to the world to say, we took the decision and we're here complete. They sent some of their, or some people loyal to them, went and laid those people on the road, hijacked them from the road and took them to the secretariat. They wanted to compel them to sit down before the TV and deny what they had done. When that information was gotten, somebody immediately complained to the police, and that was when they swung into action to go and save the people. Because there was no point, you know, putting people before the camera and compelling them to do something against their wish.
All right, it's a matter that we'll definitely keep more tabs on and have more perspective on, but we have to thank you for coming on this morning. Daniel Donje was the 2023 senatorial candidate for Benue South for the APC. All right, it will be time now for business news this morning.
Thank you so much, Chamberlain. It's a new week. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. It's time to do about 25 minutes of business right here on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We'll start with what's going on in the global space. The oil prices, it edged high on Monday, recovering from sharp falls last week after Washington pledged to launch further strikes on Iran-backed groups in the Middle East, and as Ukrainian drones struck southern Russia's largest. Let's look at the number closely now. Brent has gone from about $80 to $77.69 this morning, and that's up 0.5%. But you would note that last week we were talking about $80, and so we've seen it drop right here. WTI, that's from the United States, $72.53 for a barrel. That's gained 0.4%. Both benchmarks ended last week down about 7%. They fell 2% on Friday after stronger than expected U.S. jobs data suggested interest rate cuts could be further down in the future, and on progress in ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas. Investors remain wary of any escalation in the Middle East conflict after the United States signaled further strikes on Iran-backed groups in the Middle East in response to a deadly attack on U.S. troops in Jordan. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Justice announced sanction invasion charges and seizures linked to an oil trafficking network that it says finances Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It seized more than 520,000 barrels of sanctioned Iranian oil aboard the crude, which has been anchored in the Yellow Sea en route to China. A lot of geopolitics right there affecting the price of oil, and we know that it comes back home, back here in Nigeria, having oil as a major stay when it comes to revenue for the government. Well, still around that space, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that's the NNPCL, has released a report showing that no fewer than 36 oil blocks are under concession to international oil companies operating in Nigeria and other indigenous counterparts in the country. 8 blocks are located in deep water, 5 blocks continental shelf, 15 are on land, 5 blocks are located in swamp, and another 3 blocks are located in partial swamp terrain. The blocks are classified into prospecting license and oil mining license. Now let's go to a conversation that was really right last week. The central bank was very busy. We know that we had a series of circulars. The last one on Friday was to do with imports and exports. The central bank has increased the customs exchange rate
to 1,356. Some say there was another increase, but we'll confirm that later. The new rate has since been reflected on the Customs Trade Portal. The increase was vehemently opposed, obviously, as expected by importers and custom brokers when it first increased the customs import duty rate by about 43%. And expressing their frustration at the incessant increase. Stakeholders in the industry say businesses are yet to recover from the shocks of the new round of currency devaluation resulting from a sudden unification of the exchange rate, which has driven the official exchange rate to about 1,004. We hope to delve into this tomorrow, so you don't want to miss Business Morning tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll be bringing the head of the customs, at least in Seme area, to tell us how this is affecting them, how it is being implemented, and of course, more importantly, how it's going to affect you in the nearest future. So you want to join us 10 a.m. tomorrow for that conversation. Now, well, we are happy that the children who were kidnapped in Ekiti have been released. Unfortunately, the teacher was killed, very unfortunate. And the issue of kidnapping in the country is heading the news in so many ways and so many days than we would love to hear. What impact is it having? The business of insecurity in Nigeria. What are we suffering from it? What can we expect? We'll have that conversation after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back. In recent months, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, Abuja, has witnessed a significant surge in minor thefts, wanchens, robberies, armed robberies, and home break-ins, and of course, kidnapping. Not that it's just Abuja, like I said just before the break. The Ekiti students may have regained their freedom, but how much was exchanged? Was it 10 million? Was it less? Was it more? You know, people find it difficult to come to the public to actually affirm how much they have paid or suffered when it comes to, kidnapping and all of that. But let's have that slide right here where we talk about the impact that this has had. While we use the Federal Capital Territory as an example, we can tell you that, and you know, I don't need to tell you if you live in Nigeria, even if you live outside Nigeria, of some of the impact. Now, according to SBM Intelligence, they carried out this report and saw that when it comes to the impact, estate security fees have gone up about 20%. That's right. So if you used to have just any security personnel in your estate, with what's happening, obviously you want to up your game, so you maybe get the armed guys and all of that. We've seen that fees for that has gone up about 20%. Business revenues, obviously, those who used to hold the night economy, for instance, clubs and shops, even restaurants, you want to go home and close early so that you avoid, at least you reduce the risk. And we've seen business revenue have dropped about 33%. Transport fares, there are some areas I learned in Abuja right now that you take a cab there, you have to pay more because the driver factors in the extra risk. And so that has gone up about 10 to 250 rent because of the fear. More jackpows. So, you know, some individuals living in these areas have decided to relocate abroad. And then you've seen a drop
in the real estate. So if you had real estate or residence or office in some of those areas, you would see otherwise. But let's bring in those who carried out this research. We have Ikemesit Effiong, partner and head of research at SBM Intelligence. Thank you so much. So I don't need to ask you why you carried out all of this, but tell us what logistics or parameters did you use, for instance, to come up with these estate fees, and who did you talk to, how many people, and things like that, so we can know the reliability of your data?
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Good to have you.
Right, yeah. So one of the things that we've been doing over the last few years at SBM Intelligence is we've been trying to put data and some form of quantitative understanding to the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. From 2020, we've published what we call the Economics of Kidnapping report every year, which basically gives a national view, right, of what Nigerians are paying in terms of ransom payments, where are sort of the problematic hotspots, right, and what are those trend lines looking like year on year. So we decided to do something similar, right, for Abuja. And typically with these reports, we'll talk to business owners, we'll talk to renters. We have field representatives in every state in the country, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. And so for this, and this report was actually 3 or 4 months in the making, right? So we actually took our time.
I think this is as recent as January the 26th.
Yes, we captured January data, right, in putting this together, right? So we spoke to a broad suite of business owners, mobility operators, those who operate, right, the ride-hailing services, obviously residents, right? We also spoke to, parts of the security architecture, right, in Abuja, so the people who take charge of security, both at the public and also at the private level, in order to get a really broad and submissive view of how the federal
and you're able to come up that, security estates, for instance, they had to search, because obviously they have to get maybe better empowered security personnel and outfits.
Yes, absolutely, right. So we've seen a situation where people for one have moved from estates and gated communities that are seen to be less well protected to better protected estates. And what some of these gated communities have started doing is to beef up their security arrangements, hire bigger and better security companies, in some cases apply for licenses in order for their security operatives to carry arms, and also make arrangements to ensure that those early warning systems, in order to alert the police or even military formations that are pretty close to their geographic locations, right, are also put in place. So we've seen a lot of that happen over the last few months.
So let's look at some of the impacts, if we could have that slide, some of the impacts, financial loss, for instance. We've had 30 million, we've had 50 million for the Ekiti student. I think we had about 10 million, not sure now, because people don't really go public. So, I spoke to someone who said the whole village had to come together, to get some money. We heard about crowdfunding, for instance. These are resources that would have been used for education, for good living and welfare, that are being put together for kidnappers. Boosting the kidnap industry, unfortunately. Yeah,
unfortunately. So we spoke to someone, for example, for this report, who said he had been saving to open a furniture business, but he had to channel, those savings into helping to get his brother rescued. And I think the ransom sum in his brother's case was 50 million naira. He's in debt now. He's lost relationships because he has not been able, right, to make up those payments. And you're seeing those stories pop up now and again, but not just in the Federal Capital, to be clear, obviously, but right across the country, as you said. And so there's a real downward effect, right, on monies and resources that are being channeled into ransom payments, depriving. We talk a lot about economic investment, and especially foreign direct investment, but you also have domestic investments, right? The investments that people, plow into starting up businesses or scaling up whatever businesses they have, or furthering their education to make themselves more productive. A lot of that is now being channeled into ensuring that their loved ones are rescued from the clutches.
I think I read in also your report somebody who said he's now without a car because he had to sell his car to rescue his brother, and unfortunately, we don't hear a lot about these kidnappers being caught, in spite of the fact that we have our phones, we have our NIN, we have our BVN, we have cameras, CCTV cameras, and all of that.
Yes, absolutely. I just returned from Abuja, last night, and we had to give a security briefing to a company that operates there in order to help their staffers, feel safe, and that's increasingly becoming, a clear and present reality, unfortunately, not just in the federal capital, but also in Abuja. It's almost as though right now, insecurity and especially kidnapping now has to be baked into the cost of doing business and unfortunately living in this country.
Yeah, and I can imagine what insurance would do. You understand? Insurance premium will also go up. But let's look at this now. Increased transport costs, negative value on real estate, and then this. Was Abuja really a night? Did it have a vibrant night economy now? And what impact has it had?
Yeah, I mean, in pockets. So, in places like Wuse 2 and Maitama, for example, right, they are known to have, a pretty extensive and very vibrant night scene. And I can tell from, trying to get drinks and having late evening meetings, right, like the roads are really, really empty, right, at night. I was able to find parking, for example, in Wuse 2 without running around the entire streets, which is not something, I've lived in Abuja before. That was not my experience prior to now. In terms of the negative value of real estate, you're especially seeing this come through in sort of the suburbs and outlying areas. So Abuja Municipal, Wuse, Garki, Maitama, Sokoro is still, for the most part, it's not super safe, but it's still, for the most part, insulated from this current wave of insecurity and kidnapping that you're seeing. But in some of the outlying areas, especially in places like Kubo and Buari and Abaji and all of those places, you're beginning to see a low-key migration back into the city. And real estate values, we're beginning to see the early stages of real estate values going down there, and you're seeing rents and other property usage rates go up in core Abuja.
So who suffers the most in all of this? I mean, the security guys now, this is a boom for business, if you're in security business. Because, I mean, you can charge more, even though you are up for more risks and all of that. But, I mean, everybody might want to go into security business at this time.
Well, I mean, there's a conversation about whether that particular sector has enough space to sort of absorb, sort of the excess demand that you're seeing, right, in this current economic paradigm. But in terms of those who are suffering, a lot of operators in sort of the service economy, and services is a big part of the Nigerian economy. Yeah. They are taking a hit definitely from that. Less usage rates, more people spending. When you then square this with a high inflationary environment, a low economic growth environment, it's really not a good time to be in the service sector. So security has now become sort of an extra risk item to factor in if you are an operator in the services sector.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, just looking at some of these numbers right here for the story of Mansour, also in Abuja, yeah. 50 million was involved. For the lawyer, Mr. Folashade, 7 million. Barrister Cyril, 30 million. The Ekiti students, sorry, I think I said it was a teacher that was killed. It was a driver that was killed, actually, for the Ekiti student, 10 million. And then you said that between May, when President Bola Tinubu took over power till now, you put it about 4,000. I think that does that really capture it, really, from May till date, well, national, that is.
Yes, indeed. So what we always say, the disclaimer that we always issue whenever we publish our economics of kidnapping report, and we typically do it around July, right, of every year, is that these numbers and the ransom amounts are typically an undercount. These are the numbers we've been able to verify, cross-check from multiple sources, talk to people on the ground, and we were able to verify, those data. But even at that, 4,000 people, right, in what?
From May, less than a year, about
less than
7 months.
6-7 months, yeah. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is a lot. And bad brand for the country, a country that wants to boost its FDI, that wants to encourage even local investors. I mean, at this rate, I was talking to someone about going to Enugu, and the person was afraid. I'm like, but Enugu is safe. But it seems everybody is afraid of every part of the country now.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So when we do the economics of kidnapping report, it's a national scan. There are really no zones that are clear-cut outliers in terms of them being safer than others. It's really a matter of degrees of risk. And particularly when it comes to the FCT, we did publish a report, I believe it was in 2017 or thereabouts, that actually said that the FCT was sort of the eye of the storm. So all of the other states that surround it, Niger, Kogi, Kaduna, Nasarawa, were dealing with high levels and elevated levels of insecurity. And we had said, even as early as then, that it was unlikely that the FCT was going to remain this ideal in the midst of this chaos. And unfortunately, what we've now seen in 2023 into 2024 is that the chickens have come home to roost and the FCT is beginning to suck in and capture some of that
I think
demand.
Minister Wike has a whole lot. I know he's been issuing a whole lot of threats, but obviously this goes beyond, threats, into action, which would actually show. But what action would you expect? We've talked about, let's employ more technology. Then we talk about the overhead cost of that, and that's a discouraging factor. We talk about the insufficient infrastructure that can even carry some of this technology to a sustainable degree. So where do we actually start from in your findings? What did you find?
Well, I think the key thing is to utilize and harmonize the effects of our human intelligence capabilities, and we have significant resources that channel towards that in Nigeria, and also how coordination within the security sector works. One of the points that I like to make, right, is that Nigeria still doesn't have the equivalent of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? So you don't have all of the uniformed services talking at a coherent, at a strategic, and at a tactical level. And it's as though everyone is doing their own thing in trying to in trying to deal with the country's security situations. And unfortunately, all of those just appear to be many cooks, right, trying to prepare for the soup.
From your point of view now, we do have at least most of what we need. What we need is coordination of the instrument, the architect, both the personnel and the non-personnel.
Absolutely.
Is that what you found?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think every other thing in terms of, utilizing technology, making sure you have cameras, making sure you have proper early warning systems, those are really just mitigation strategies. In terms of an actual solution, we need broad collaboration within the security services. And people also need to have confidence, right, to support the work that the security services are doing.
Yeah, information.
Exactly. Many people's first recourse in the event of a security incident is not to call the police or is not to engage with the country's security architecture.
That sounds like a long-term orientation that needs to be done to get the people to trust the agencies.
Yes, absolutely. It might be a bit of a chicken and egg situation, but the point is what coordination and broad collaboration does is that it gives people some confidence that in some situations the security authorities can be relied upon, and then that reliability or the perception of that reliability can feed into better behavior on the parts of everyday civilians in terms of working in hand with the security operators. So a bit of a chicken and egg situation, but I think the security services need to lead on this, first and foremost in broadly collaborating, and then the rest of us will follow pretty much.
And then we really need this because the country does need to build its Naira, does need investment and production in the country.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, economists, for your time. Economist Effiong is the partner and head of research at SBM Intelligence.
Absolute pleasure being here.
All right, now let's head to the markets and find out how the week fared. Well, I think the biggest news from the markets last week was the Naira, the currency market. We saw a lot of movement. We saw the CBN put in a lot of efforts, to stabilize the Naira. And we saw it closing at about 1,004. A funny scenario we also saw last week where the Naira had more value in the parallel market than the official market. I don't remember seeing that before, but we did see that last week in the market in the midst of all the efforts and the circulars coming from the central bank last week. And I think we saw a bit of movement right there as at the close of market on Friday. If we could have those market numbers just before we get to the currency. The all-share index for the week last week was up 1.63%. Equities cap gained 902 billion to close at about 56 trillion at the close of trade. Can we have others for last week? And we saw, of course, the oil and gas did move a bit, talking about the sectors. We saw the banking, the figures recovered after about 2 negative sessions during the week at the end of that. But let's switch over to the currency market now and speak to Mr. Victor Alui to tell us a summary of the movement from the market, the currency last week. Mr. Alui, good morning, and thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we were bombarded with a lot of circulars from the Central Bank of Nigeria last week. Would you say it made any impact
on the movement, the price of the naira and the gains and the losses?
Not significant in terms of the price movements, but I think that these moves are steps in the right direction. They're essentially aimed at improving the supply situation of FX in our economy. I mean, the truth of the matter is that at the core of the FX challenge that has bedeviled this economy for quite some time now is the fact that there is very limited FX supply to meet the ever-growing FX demand. So essentially, the circulars last week were essentially aimed at improving USD supply or liquidity, if you will. So in terms of an impact, we haven't seen a significant impact yet. I would say that these are early days. We'll continue to keep a close watch on that situation. The impact that it would have eventually really remains to be seen. But I think that it was a step in the right direction in really trying to improve FX supply and addressing the FX malaise that we dealt with for quite some time.
I think one of the outstanding ones that was highlighted is the one on the IMTOs, where truly we're supposed to now see a flexible pricing, at least from that corner. And a lot of people had said putting a cap on the rate had been a stumbling block or a hindrance, discouraging a lot of people from allowing their liquidity to flow into the official rate. So are you hopeful? Do you have high expectations, at least when it comes from that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope that, the removal of that cap would essentially remove all kinds of restrictions, particularly within that window. I mean, for context, diaspora remittance for last year, the World Bank estimates that about $20 billion came in terms of diaspora remittance for Nigeria. However, about 90% of those were externalized. What that simply means is that, because there are restrictions or there are caps as to what the IMTOs can quote, those that are remitting would rather have those transactions consummated abroad and then they receive the naira here. So all of the USD, the euro, and all the foreign currency essentially gets externalized. These are consummated abroad. This money still sits in accounts abroad, while the recipients get the naira here because of those caps, because they are unable to get the full value or full market value, if you will, for their remittances. So with the removal of these caps, it essentially means that they can get full value for it. So the hope is that all of that transaction that had been externalized will begin to find its way into the NAFEM market and ultimately improve, FX liquidity in the market as well.
So towards the end of last week, we also saw another circular on the customs rate, placing it at about 1,356. Well, is it really impossible for us to have just one rate cuts across board? Because, of course, now we have that. We have NAFEM and all of that. Is it impossible, and what impacts does it have?
I think it's a reflection of the challenges that we're essentially going through with regards to the FX market, and that is why you would have, these sort of diverging rates at different segments of the market. But again, the adjustment in that custom rate is basically to reflect the reality of what had happened over the last week plus or so. If you recollect, the NAFEM rate had also been adjusted. So in reflection of that adjustment, you saw that adjustment in the custom rate as well. So typically, there's that one rate that moves and everything else has to really move. I think the idea is to achieve what we might describe as a convergence of sorts that would happen where, everything essentially gets settled in, at one rate. But that can only happen in a situation where there is a really good level of supply of USD that essentially meets all of the demand that we have. In the absence of that supply, you're certainly going to be having all kinds of rationing going on, and different segments of the market will certainly kick off as a result of pricing not being transparent. So the idea, again, is to ensure that pricing is transparent, market operators are transparent, and this should create some sort of divergence. But again, it is important that we explore all avenues to really improve FX supply, because that really sits at the core of the issue we're facing.
I guess moving some of those departments to Lagos, that's of the CBN, could help them to be more efficient in regulating and enforcing this, you think?
I mean, hopefully. I don't know what the final details are of that, but in these days of, electronic technology helping things to work, I don't know that necessarily does a significant impact, but I think it should, in its own way, really help.
All right, thank you so much, Head of Investments at Sankore Global. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor Aluyi, and have a great week ahead.
Thank you.
So that's much we can take on Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Let's head back now to the Sunrise studio. Sunrise, guys, back to you.
Youths are protesting the high cost of living, and they were blocking major roads within the metropolis. Now, we understand that the protesters say the rising cost of food items, poor government efforts to arresting the situation has forced them to block major roads. That's why there are a lot of them there. They say they're blocking the major roads so that government will hear their cry. Now, it turns out that the deputy governor went in to try and address the crowd, telling them, listen, we actually do hear you. It's not that we don't. But they heckled him, saying, nope, no way, not so, in disagreement of what went on. So the deputy governor of the state, Yakubu Garba, tried to address them. He said government is working to reduce the cost of living and the consequences of fuel subsidy removal. Remember that. But they will not have it. So this just raises lots of questions as to the palliative, the billions, the 2 trillion that the state government had received the first instance. What impact is it having? So if they're protesting like this in Niger State, there's certainly more questions that the governors now have to, because what we've seen over time, chances are that there could be a copycat scenario in some other states. So if Niger State is doing this, other states have got to be aware.
It's interesting that the women were the ones that said to have started this, and you can see that there are lots of young people who have also joined in the protest. You can see a lot of young men right here, and it's interesting that they're not even listening to someone as high up as the deputy governor. It tells you just where the people are at in terms of the pain that they're currently feeling. If government is working, it needs to show it's working. It's not just a question of just saying it now. People need to feel it. People need to be able to see the hope on the horizon. So this is the situation in Niger State. We're hoping it doesn't spread. We're hoping that this will be contained. We hope that it will just be a protest. The people have a right. It is their inalienable right to, protest and let their voices be heard. It will not be a surprise if it happens elsewhere, but we hope that it will be something that will be done peacefully and will not lead to the loss of any lives while this is on.
And actually very important that this is looked at very carefully, because Niger State is one of those states where if you don't check the situation early, it actually gets worse. And we're seeing a lot of young people here. Remember Niger State of terrorist attacks recently? And neighbors us here in Abuja. It's a very crucial state, a very large state, a very massive population. And this situation has to be looked at very carefully and addressed very smartly by the state authorities to ensure that it doesn't turn into something else. But of course, right there, we're seeing disgruntled young people who are asking for better governance.
And if you ask me, Kayla, if you look at the fact that, young people, these young men whom we're seeing on the streets, and even women, and Niger State is known to be a largely agrarian state. Niger State has massive land capabilities that can feed this country. It's right in the middle of the north-central region of Nigeria. People are unable to go to their farms as a result of the insecurity. Some parts of Nigeria have been taken over by terrorists. We've been seeing that the army's been battling them, but even they too, they've been given our security agencies quite some, problems in terms of, challenges for the entire country. So I'm hoping that, let us all hope. But I think it has to go beyond hope now, that the real work will be done to address the root challenges confronting the people who are unable to go to their farms and unable to contribute meaningfully to national production, especially in the area of not just food now, but even in terms of timber, in terms of many other byproducts that we could actually make from food and cash crops.
I mean, Chamberlain, this is a Monday morning.
It is a Monday morning.
All these people are not at work or in school. There's a lot, or at their farms. There's a lot that is wrong in this place.
So a stark reality of the questions of youth unemployment, the stark reality of whether or not the policies that the government has put in place is achieving the desired results, a stark reality of what we need to do if we don't want to be sitting on a keg of gunpowder. So, but we'll bring you more details on this matter as we get them. Ayo.
The things that bothers me is that we should never have allowed our young people to get to this point of hitting the roads. We always know the beginning of a thing such as this. We can't know the end of it, especially when we cannot control the narrative. Now, these guys didn't just get here. There were elections in Niger State earlier last year. About a year ago, there was elections in Niger State. And the issues had prevailed until before then and even until this moment. The governor ought to have seen these things coming. I always talk about my confidence in the intelligence community, how the officials of government, political office holders, use the information that they get at the federal level, at the state level, at the local government levels, at the executive level, and at the legislature levels. That is what will be instructive here. So this is what we have now, and they are refusing to listen to government officials. Where do we go from here? It's a very troubling situation, and this is just one state. God forbid that it goes anywhere else. And how many other states are having this experience, and the governors and the officials or government commissioners, and no one is looking at those things now. It's not all rosy if people are hungry and pensive. That's my take, Chamberlain.
On that one and see how it develops. We'll try and reach out to the governor himself and see what has he got to say. Yes, the deputy governor did go there, but you can see the results there. So let's move on now to Benue. Dan Ihomu is the APC Publicity Secretary for Benue State Chapter. He joins us virtually this morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program today. Well,
good morning.
Well, we also see over the weekend the protest, the disagreement between two factions in the party in the state. In fact, some say one faction loyal to the governor, the other faction loyal to the SGF, all seem to be going at each other. But at the moment now, could you tell us what is being done to resolve this matter? Because as it were, it appears as though both parties are sticking to their guns now.
Let me make it very clear to everybody in Nigeria that there are no factions in the Benue APC. Benue APC remains one, united, and we are under the leadership of our chairman, Comrade Austin Agada, who is our leader in the state. There are no factions at all. Of course, there are disagreements within the party, but there is no faction at all. The chairman, the state working committee, the state executive of our party is solely behind the chairman of our party in the state, Comrade Austin Agada.
Who is Mr. Benjamin Omakolo?
Benjamin Omakolo is the suspended welfare secretary of our party. He is my friend and colleague, so he's the welfare secretary. That's who Omakolo is.
But he says that he is the chairman of the party.
I think that he needs to undergo some mental tests or some psychological tests Omakolo, I know him to be a very close friend to me. He's a smart guy, but he tattoo. So there must be something wrong with him. If not, how can Omakolo claim to become the acting chairman of our party in the state? The party is run by a constitution, and we have hierarchy of levels. And so even if anything happens to the state chairman, we have the state deputy chairman, we also have zonal chairman. And so the succession plan of that, or hierarchy of our party as enshrined in our constitution as amended in 2022 is very clear. And so if anybody comes out to say that he's acting chairman, I wonder where it's coming from. Let me clarify this thing. The APC is not a village meeting. It's not a committee meeting that you will say that your elders just decided and made you acting chairman. There are rules, there are procedures, and we are guided by the Holy Grail, which is the constitution of the party.
All right, Mr. I want you to be able to talk to you a little bit about what you said. Now, you're saying that there's no division, but there actually is. It's obvious to everyone that there is some issue going on with the APC, especially with the fact that there was an attack recently at the meeting where a vote of confidence was supposed to be passed on Mr. Agada. I wanted to find out if you were at that meeting as well, and what your experience was with the security operatives at the time when they invaded the secretariat.
I was at the meeting. Let me clarify once more. I said that there are no factions, but of course there are interests and there are little wranglings, which I used to call it friendly fire. I was there at the secretariat when it was invaded. We were there, we received members of our party from Ihaje Ward 1, Obadibo, the ward of the chairman. And they came in solidarity. They came to denounce what faceless persons, which one of them is a supervisory councillor for works. His name is Godwin Abba.
Yeah, so when the security operatives got into the secretariat, what happened?
When we received this delegation from this ward ESCO from Ihaje Ward 1, suddenly we saw the chief security officer of the governor. He came in with the commissioner of water resources, the SSA on youth and employment.
So basically he came in with people who you have pointed out just now, sir. You just pointed out that the people that the security operatives came in with are people who work with the governor. That's what you just pointed out to us, a governor that is also a member of your party. So it will be very strange to hear you say that there is no division in your party. If you were attacked and other members were attacked by people who you say work for the governor, who is also a member of your party, then it just goes to show clearly that there is a problem in your party. And it looks like people may be right in their assertions that there might be some kind of play involved here. In fact, that brings me to my next question, which has to do with the fact that they say this whole impasse really has to do with the state governor and the SGF. And this drama will continue to go back and forth until these two people are able to come together and form some kind of united front. You know, what do you make of that assertion that this is an issue with Governor Hyacinthe Alia and George Akume, and it's the loyalties of their people that is being, you know, that's been causing these back and forth?
Let me put this point straight away. The SGF has not problem with the governor. It is the governor and the party and stakeholders. And as I've said before, there is no factions in our party. Let me show you a document in my hand that clearly shows the appointment of the name of the chairman of Ihaje Ward 1. His name is Honorable Peter Onoja. This is his appointment letter. This is also a letter of the removal of the so-called person who was claiming to be chairman, the appointee, the supervisory council for works. The dates are there. The letter of appointment is dated 16 December 2023. The day of removal is 13th December 2023. And I want to make it very clear that those people who were called to government house, that they claimed that they suspended, for the popular suspension, we are told that they were coming to receive palliatives from the governor. That's what took them to Makurdi. They came to receive palliatives. And even among the 7 of them, only 3 were escorts from Ihaje. And then even the 3 of them, 2 of them have come out to say that they only went there to collect palliatives. And they have clearly come out to tell us at that meeting that they had no part in that charade. If you see the letter on my hand, this is where they have passed a vote of confidence on the chairman. And what happened on that very day was that the people in the government knew that the real bona fide escort of Ihaje was coming to the secretariat in solidarity with their son, to come and thank members of the Second Committee for standing by their son, and to thank the National Work Committee for also setting aside the purported suspension. So the issue in Benue is not about the SDF and the governor. It's about the governor and the party. That is where the problem is. Parties and stakeholders are complaining that the governor does not carry them along. That is basically the issue. And so, as I've said before, the party no factions, but of course, we have a international agreement that I attempt to call friendly fire.
You say that the problem is between the governor and the party, that the party is complaining that the governor is not carrying them along. But this national chairman, this state chairman was said to have been suspended over anti-party activities. Can you talk to us a bit more about that? Can you hear me? Oh, does look like we lost him, yeah. We lost him briefly there. But the situation in Benue will continue to be interesting given what he's just said now. Everybody who's been looking at what has been happening, everyone knows that, well, maybe not everyone, but at least most people know that the relationship between the governor, the current governor of the state, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, and the SGF, who was the one who also brought him, I don't want to say godfather, but hey, the priest, the Reverend Father is Catholic. He might understand the use of that word, godfather, especially in the context in which we're using it here. We know that the relationship has been frosty quite a bit, and it does appear that it's beginning to reflect in terms of the relationship within the party, and also even the last elections, this by-elections that happened in Benue. I recall that the governor was addressing in Benue. I recall that the governor, and he was telling people to calm down, sheath their swords, let there be peace, let everything go peacefully. The police commissioner was also there with the governor saying that everything will go well. It does appear that there's been at least for the by-elections, they've been able to achieve some, will I say, consensus in terms of how the elections should go. But this is where we are now, where we have 2 contending chairmen. How is this going to be resolved? How do you think, what exactly do you think is going to happen right now if we have 2 people? Because if one person says, I'm the chairman, another person says, no, you're not the chairman, I am the chairman. And some people are saying, look, we have already fulfilled, according to the Constitution, what needs to happen. That this chairman was suspended at the ward level. His people suspended him. And the executives who carried it out are not hiding. They're actually claiming that they did it. They are taking ownership for what they have done. Can we really dismiss that?
Mark, those people who claim to have suspended the chairman, this is the letter from them, passing a vote of confidence from the chairman. Those people, the man who claimed to suspend the chairman of our party is an appointee of government. He's the supervisor for works in Obadibo. The constitution of the APC is very clear. In an event where the chairman of the party in the state is removed, we have the deputy chairman of the party in the state. In an event, even when the deputy chairman is removed, we have zonal chairman. The zonal chairman in Zone C, where our chairman comes from. And so the succession of the hierarchy of succession is not in doubt at all. And so where are these people claiming that they got their chairman from?
Pardon me, but
our question is very clear.
I haven't read the constitution of the APC, and you haven't cited that portion which says that the deputy chairman, should take over. What they say, what they claim is that in the event that a chairman is removed, somebody from within his own zone or his own ward is the one who should take over as chairman. Is that what your constitution says?
Even the constitution is very clear. Even when the chairman is removed, the deputy chairman is there. After the deputy chairman, there's a zonal chairman, Zone C. In our case, his name is Bishop Peanut Obaji. After the deputy chairman, Zone C, we also have the state treasurer, Alhaji Muhammad Hassan.
I'm not contesting the hierarchy which you have.
Let me explain. The hierarchy of association is there. Honorable Makolo, the former welfare secretary of our party, is the last person online. There's no way you can bring it. The APC is not a village. It's not a village meeting. We are guided
Mr.
by the
Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. You have shown me a copy of your party's constitution. I'm simply saying, is it possible for you to cite precisely where within your constitution you're talking about to back up what it is you're saying? Because they too are also claiming parts of this same constitution you're holding upholds what it is that they have done.
Our constitution does not say that at all. It will take me time to go to the point, to the page, or to the article that talks about our succession. But it's clear, and the National Work Committee of our party has made it very clear that they have set aside the purported suspension. And as so as a party, we rely solely on our constitution and on the authority of the National Secretariat of our party.
All right. Does the national chairman recognize what has happened? I mean, right now within which faction does the national working committee of your party recognize?
There is no faction in our party in Benue State. There's only one ESCO of our party, and that is the ESCO led by Comrade Austin Agada, in which I am the state publicity secretary. That is the ESCO of our party in the state, and is recognized by the national.
All right, Mr. Danny Homo, we do thank you for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, so Mr. Austin Agada and Benjamin Omakolo were actually scheduled to be on the show, only to be told moments ago today that they were not going to be able to make the program. All right, so now we'll move on to just a quick review of the by-elections, the rerun and by-election that happened over the weekend. We do have Bishop Amakari joining us. He is the national chairman of YPP. His party also participated in that election. He joins us virtually as well to give perspectives on that. Mr. Amakari, thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, much as we've seen some footage of some unfortunate scenario in Enugu and some other states, quite concerning as to why some persons who are said to be INEC officials were caught in what they ought not to be doing. But could you give us your impression of how that turned out? Because, I mean, some of your candidates won elections over the weekend.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chamberlain. Let me say good morning, Nigerians. Somehow I'm speaking from Accra, actually. But first, let me also use this opportunity to congratulate those I will call generals in the field who have gone to exhibit great spirit of resilience, dogmatism, and optimism. They won the election, and I must also commend those I will call our ogas at the bottom, whom have spoken through the ballot. And I think this should be a message that this PDP and APC, who wants Nigeria to be turned into one-party system, depending on the states they control. In the case of Akwa Ibom, I must say it's quite unfortunate that the kind of politics they are playing there is a politics of do or die, especially those who happen to be the helms of affairs. You can thank God, Chamberlain, you are following the event. I was told, I wasn't there, but I've been following back to back my state chairman and some other ward chairman and all the very high-profile persons of our great party. They have been updating me with the event. And I was told that some very close dignitaries close to the, to the government wanted to go and subvert the will of the people by introducing political brigadiers coming to a polling unit to come and snatch ballot boxes, to stop the ballot boxes so that they will come back with an inflated result. This has been what they have been trying to do, even right from the general elections. If you are not popular, you are not popular. Why must you want to win an election? First, you were defeated on the ballot in the first round. You went to the court thinking, because this is what most of these politicians, those who have been winning election, through the back door, they win election, or they lose the election, or somehow they will even tell you,
so,
please.
But Mr. Makri, in terms of the conduct of the elections, the performance of the commission, were you satisfied? Did they do better than you expected? Did they meet any of your expectations or the party's expectations?
Because we are human beings, I can tell you that I cannot give 100% to any human being. But in this regard, I must commend the INEC officials who actually stood, because, Chamberlain, let's be realistic about this. I must say we have moved from one level to another level. Before, there is no way a party like YPP and other parties can win election. It means that there is a process ongoing. So, if I'm to score INEC, I would say maybe let me give them 30/50.
And this is predicated on the fact that your party was able to take some seats. Is that correct?
No, it's not predicated on the fact because my party took some seats. I'm just telling you, I was told about what transpired on the field, okay? And if the INEC officials could resist that pressure, and even go ahead to do the right thing, not because white people won an election, okay? But they did the right thing. And the right thing was because they affirmed the voice of the people who have spoken, that this is their own choice of candidates that they want in the election.
Would you say then that the National Assembly elections, going from what has happened in these by-elections, and sadly it's not been smooth in almost every area. We understand that some lives were lost, even in the conduct of by-elections, which is quite shocking. But given the fact that you are saying that you're scoring INEC 30/50 on this, would you recommend that parliamentary elections or National Assembly elections be conducted on a separate day? Because some people have been calling for that it should not be joined together with the presidential elections.
Thank you so much, Mark. But it looks like as if you have read my heart, you've been in my mind. This has always been my own thoughts too, that sometimes when you bring this on the table, some people bring the argument that, oh, we're going to overspend. And you ask the question, why are we crying that we're going to overspend on a process that concerns the well-being of our people? If our politicals or any country that is suffering from democratic or political instability, I think that country will have a serious problem. I also subscribe to those who are calling that these elections should be, staged, badge by badge. What I'm saying is, if we're going to run, and I think that going forward, INEC should also look inward to see how they can, revisit their timetable schedule of election.
All right.
We should not, excuse me, please let me drop. Sorry, Chamberlain.
All right, quickly, because we need to wrap up.
Okay, I think that going forward, presidential election should be separate. And 1 week after, let's have National Assembly election also separate. 1 week later, let's have either governorship election separate. And 1 week later, within 1 month, Because the reason is because we will not continue to experience what happened in the last election. Many people who won election just because of the wave of the Peter Obi wave, who were not supposed to be in the parliament today.
All right, Mr. Makre, we hear you, but we'll have to anchor at that point in time. We do thank you for your perspectives. Mr. Bishop Makre is the national chairman of YPP. And that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Osop. Goodbye.
I should ask you how you felt sequestered between two beautiful women. Well, thank you so much for watching today. I'm Maupe Ogunyese, wishing you a very Ayo, don't worry, we're not leaving you alone. Okay? Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you all so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa.
Don't worry, I already made my pick. Amaya Makinde, do have a wonderful day.